Hi friends, please subscribe my channel for more scary and horror stories. Subscribe. Last summer, my cousin Emily received a package on her birthday. It wasn't from anyone in the family. The box had no return address, no note, nothing. Just her name written in black marker. Inside was a Labubu doll. At first glance, it looked cheap, like one of those knockoff toys. But when Emily lifted it out of the box, we all went silent. The thing felt wrong. Its glass eyes didn't shine like normal doll eyes. They looked dull, as if something alive was trapped inside. Its grin was stretched too wide, almost mocking, and its fur was rough, like real animal hair. Emily laughed it off. She set it on her desk that night, and we all forgot about it. But 2 days later, she started complaining that the doll moved when she wasn't looking. At first, we thought she was joking. Until one night, I stayed over at her house. Around 2 a.m., I heard something scraping across the wooden floor. I sat up and looked toward the desk. The doll wasn't there. Instead, it was standing on the floor, facing Emily's bed. I froze. Its glassy eyes reflected the moonlight, and in the silence of that summer night, I swore I heard it breathing. The next morning, I told her parents. They laughed, said we were imagining things. But strange things started happening. Emily's door would unlock itself at night. Her closet doors would swing open. Once, her mother found the doll sitting at the kitchen table with a knife resting in front of it. Emily began to change. She wouldn't sleep, she barely ate, and she kept whispering that the doll wanted her to go somewhere. She wouldn't tell us where. One night, she disappeared. Her bed was empty, her window wide open. The doll sat in the middle of her room, its grin wider than ever. We searched for hours until we found her in the woods behind the house. She was standing barefoot in the dirt, staring at something none of us could see. Her lips were moving, whispering words that didn't sound human. The doll was sitting at her feet, its head tilted back, staring at the sky. When we tried to grab her, she screamed in a voice that wasn't hers. It was deeper, cracked, almost ancient. The sound made every one of us stumble back. Her father snatched the doll and threw it into the fire pit in the backyard. Flames swallowed it instantly. But when the fire died, the doll was still there, untouched, its grin as sharp as ever. Emily collapsed to the ground. When she woke up, she didn't remember anything. But she begged us not to bring the doll back inside. Her father buried it miles away, deep in the forest. But sometimes, Emily says she dreams of it, standing at the edge of her bed, watching her, waiting for the right night to return. And last week, she found a package on her porch. No return address, just her name in black marker. Inside was the same Labubu doll. Last year in July, my friend Marcus bought a Labubu doll from a flea market in a small town he was passing through on a road trip. The seller was this old woman who barely spoke. She just smiled when Marcus asked about the doll and said it had belonged to her daughter before she died. Marcus thought it was just another collectible. He collected strange dolls, so he didn't think twice. He kept it in the back seat of his car and drove home that night. But when he got home, he noticed something that bothered him. The doll was no longer where he had left it. Instead, it was sitting upright on the passenger seat with its glassy eyes staring straight ahead. He thought maybe he hit the brakes and it shifted, but the way it sat up perfectly still made his chest tighten. He laughed it off, carried it inside, and set it on the shelf in his bedroom. That night, he called me, panicked. He whispered that the doll was moving on its own. I told him he was just tired, but he swore he saw it tilt its head and follow him with its eyes. He put it in his closet and locked the door before bed. But around 3 a.m, he woke up to the sound of scratching. It was coming from inside the closet, a slow scraping like tiny fingers dragging across the wood. He froze, then grabbed a flashlight. When he finally opened the closet, the doll wasn't on the shelf. It was on the floor, standing against the door, its grin stretched wide. Marcus barely slept after that, and the next day he told me he was getting rid of it. But when he tried to leave it outside, on the curb, the doll somehow ended up back inside the house, sitting at the kitchen table. He lived alone. No one else had a key. By the 3rd night, things got worse. He started hearing a child's voice, whispering his name in the dark, sometimes from under the bed, sometimes from the corner of the room. He told me he saw the doll's shadow move across the wall, even though it was sitting perfectly still. One night, he called me again, his voice shaking. He said the doll was standing at the end of his bed, staring at him, its grin wider than ever, its glass eyes gleaming like they were wet with tears. He tried to throw it again, but the moment it left his hands, the lights in his house flickered and went out. When they came back, the doll was sitting right next to him on the bed, its head slowly turning toward him. Marcus screamed and dropped the phone. The line went dead. The next morning, I drove to his house. The door was unlocked. Everything was quiet, but Marcus was gone. All his belongings were there. His car was parked outside, but he was nowhere to be found. I searched the whole house until I walked into the bedroom. The Labubu doll was sitting neatly on the pillow on his bed, the same grin on its face, the same glass eyes, staring right at me. And Marcus has never been seen since. I grew up in a small town where people whispered about strange toys that should never have been made. The one I'll never forget was a Labubu doll. A girl named Rachel, who lived 2 streets away from me, was the first in town to own one. Her aunt had ordered it online from some obscure shop overseas. At first, it was just strange looking. Wide grin, sharp teeth, huge eyes, and a mischievous face. It was supposed to be cute, but anyone who saw it up close felt uneasy. Rachel treated the doll like a pet. She'd carry it everywhere, set it beside her bed, even talk to it as if it understood. At first, her parents thought it was just a phase, but within a few weeks, they started hearing scratching noises at night. Rachel swore it was the doll. She said she could hear it moving, crawling across the floor when the lights were out. No one believed her until her father heard tiny footsteps in the hallway one night when Rachel was fast asleep and the doll was missing from her room. When they found it, the Labubu was sitting at the end of the hallway, facing their bedroom door, its sharp little grin aimed directly at them. After that, things got worse. Rachel began to change. She stopped playing outside, stopped talking to her friends. All she wanted was to be in her room with the doll. Her parents noticed her skin becoming pale, her eyes darker, almost hollow. They thought maybe she was sick, but doctors couldn't find anything wrong. Then Rachel started whispering in her sleep. Her mother stood in the doorway one night, listening, and realized Rachel wasn't whispering random nonsense. She was repeating a phrase in some language they didn't understand. The Labubu doll sat upright on her dresser, its eyes reflecting light in the dark, like it was listening too. One night, Rachel disappeared. Her window was wide open, curtain blowing in the summer wind. The police searched the woods, the neighborhood, everywhere. The only thing they found was the Labubu doll, sitting perfectly still in the middle of her bed. Its grin was wider than ever. Rachel was never found. A week later, another family across town bought a Labubu doll. Their youngest child went missing within a month. Some say these dolls aren't toys at all, but vessels, something ancient, something that feeds on children, something that can't be destroyed. A few parents tried burning theirs, but no matter how much fire touched them, the dolls always survived, untouched, waiting to be passed on. I saw one once, at a flea market years later, sitting on a dusty table, wide grin, glassy eyes staring at me like it knew who I was. I walked away as fast as I could, but sometimes, when I wake up in the middle of the night, I swear I hear scratching in the hallway outside my bedroom, and I know that one day I'll wake up to find it sitting there, smiling at me. Hi friends, please subscribe my channel for more scary and horror stories. Subscribe.